Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? Exciting day of builds, right? So I'm down here at my local storehouse, if you will, and I am picking up some more of this ultralight plywood. Check this out. So here's that supply of ultralight plywood that I bought in Salt Lake City, 2,100 miles away from here. And there is my pre-manufactured Paulk Smart Bench. I look forward to putting that one together. But before I do that, I've already built the Smart Bench from scratch using 3 sheets of this magic plywood. I am now going to build in sequence, actually all together, simultaneously. I'm going to build 3 of the smart carts, and I'm going to do version 1. And for that I need 3 sheets of plywood, so that's why I'm here today, because I'm going to fabricate parts today and tomorrow and maybe start assembly. And then I have a smart station that I will build, which will take 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets here, and that will leave me with 1 final sheet. And that 1 final sheet will be to make the router tables. I'm going to make 2 router tables according to his specifications. So it's integrated with the Smart Bench. And that will be all for my magic plywood. Once all of that is done, then I'll grab this and I'll assemble that. And that'll be on a video at some point. All right, well, 2 more sheets and then it's off to the house. And it's then setting up and getting ready to go to make smart carts. I actually have to order 2 more sets of casters in. I think I have all the other hardware that I need. And the rest of it's really plywood and screws, and I think I have all that. So exciting, very exciting to be down here kind of shopping. But you know, man, I treat this plywood like gold, right? I know it's just plywood. It's just a little lighter than the rest of the stuff. But I went through such trouble to get it that you don't want to waste it. Okay, well, I'm going to grab the other 2 sheets and then we're going to make this magic happen at the house. All right, hey, how you doing? Steve here, still. All right, what I have is just an ugly mongrel piece of fall off, but it's fairly flat. I believe I pulled this either out of my shed or maybe out of that place that I got my plywood at. That place that I was just at pulling the plywood is a set of rental properties that I am the maintenance guy for. It's the only solid handyman work that I do, otherwise it's construction and remodeling. But I pulled this, and I'm pretty sure I pulled that out of there. It was just a random leftover fall off. So you can see it's pretty mongrel. But what I did was I took my track saw and the Tissot guide rail square, and I went ahead and squared the entire piece up so I could rely on all 4 sides, and I checked the square from there. Now what I'm doing is I'm cutting it down to the size that I need, and what I am making out of that piece right there is it's going to be the router template that I'm going to use to route all of the holes out of the bottom of the smart cart. For as much abuse as that piece of fall off seems like it had taken at some point because of all the tire marks on one side, it was actually remarkably flat. Certainly it's CDX, so it's pretty rough. But I went ahead and sanded it all down so it feels better when you grab it. And I went ahead and, if I haven't already done so, I will eventually round over or chamfer all of the holes in the sides and everything else. Now what I'm doing is I'm laying out all of the holes that I need to cut out for this template, which will include a center square hole, and that will be for the grab handle for the cart itself, and that'll go in the very center. And then I have 8 perimeter holes that'll be square that I have to, and you can see me drilling them out here, that I'll have to cut out so I can route out. And what they are is to index the sawhorse legs on either side of the cart. And they'll nest down in these holes, line everything up, and then the magic is there as far as to set up the bench. So I had the saw hole kit just to get everything started, and so I didn't have any tear out. I went ahead and laid the whole thing out on both sides, one side accurately, the other side just for reference, and then I pre-drilled the other side so I didn't have any tear out when I drilled all the way through with the hole saws, and I did that on all, what is it, 8, 16, so the 18 holes that I just had to drill. So here I am with my jigsaw, of course, just kind of taking all the material out, getting ready to go. I will fine-tune that with a file actually later, just to make sure that it's good enough for my router template and I don't have any bumps where I don't want bumps. So I'll do that. And you can see the four drawn, or the four are done, and I'm just doing the last two there as I flip the piece over. The center is already done. I do have two of those barrel-handled 20-volt jigsaws. I like those things. I like those things a lot. I like the barrel grip. And I bought the first one and basically permanently installed a Collins coping foot for trim. That's the reason why I got that particular type of jigsaw. And then realized that it was just so handy to have around that I went ahead and bought one and left a flat shoe on it. Here I am kind of fine-tuning all of those holes to get ready for the router, and I just had a hand file, and I just went through and made sure that I got any of the bumps out, and that way hopefully I end up with a really clean router hole. This right here, I'm just chamfering the edges. I'm pretty sure I have a 45-degree chamfer bit on that thing, just barely exposed, so it just knocks the corners off. This is the pre-cut bottom, so it's already been cut down to size and ready to go. With this template, if you lay the template out correctly, all you have to do is just line up the ends and line up the sides, make sure it's square to the piece, clamp it down, and route away. That's the joy of it, and I can attest that it worked. I did this. You'll see me flip it over onto the other end here in just a little bit, and I assembled the entire cart. And then when I put my sawhorses into it, they fit. And then when I put the bench on the sawhorses, they were properly indexed to the holes underneath the bench, where the sawhorses kind of line the whole thing up into pockets that are drilled in the bottom of the bench. I love math. I love math. I love a good layout. Here it looks like I'm getting ready to lay out the center. I'll just kind of work my way over on the piece. All I need to know is actual center, I believe, of the actual bottom itself, and then I'll figure out center on that template, which I probably already have lines for center. And I think, yeah, I had them. I'm just darkening them out, probably for filming. Then I can line them up. Corded plunge router. Probably running, that might be a 1/4 inch, or it's a 1/2 inch upcut spiral. I have one loaded on each of my two corded routers, along with the pattern bushing that's installed on the bottom, which allows me to use this pattern the way I'm doing. And I believe, I don't know if I have it indexed to go through to do 2 or 3 passes. Looks like 3 passes. And so I have my depth gauge set to where I can just rotate it 2 times. One time at the top, and then 2 more times, and that'll get me through all the way. So I'm not trying to overtax the router or the overtax the router or overtax the bit. Okay, you're seeing me just chamfering all the holes. And then typically I'll run a palm sander over the whole thing. Or an orbital sander. I think that's an orbital. Probably running like a 120 grit. You see all my sacrificial strips there. To this point, I'm pretty sure I don't have a mark on my old bench, and that old bench that I'm building the new bench, well, the new smart cart on, which I actually built the new bench. No marks on that because of those sacrificial strips, so very, very happy. You have to be attentive, of course, like using that circular saw right there. I have to know what the depth is, the depth of cut. Actually, very recently, I almost cut into my bench because I had misread the gauge on my track saw, and I thought I was at, I don't know, 3/4. I was at 1.25 inches, and I went within 1/4 inch of actually cutting into my bench. Just a dumb mistake, not thinking. So here I am laying out, looks like the screw pattern. So it's probably every, I don't know, every 10 centimeters or every 100 millimeters, same thing. And then it would be, because I'm using 3/4 plywood or 18 millimeter plywood, it'd be 9 millimeters in. I built his bench because actually I'm sitting here currently at the bench that goes on that cart. And this was all laid out through the metric system. I have an all metric tape measure. Love that thing. It's from FastCap. Also, I have these FastCap screws. They have a very wide, very thin head like a washer. And it's meant for cabinet installation, amongst other things. And also that bit that you see right there, right with that kit. That bit is actually a countersink bit. and it's a special bit that you can get through FastCap. If I think about it, I'll try and remember to put a link down below. I have no affiliates, a tiny channel like mine. I have no sponsors, certainly, but I haven't bothered to get up affiliate links for anything yet. So, free of charge. It's a great bit. I'll have a video out. If I don't already, I'll have a video out kind of demonstrating that bit. That's a beautiful bit. Didn't know it existed until Ron Paulk introduced it on one of his videos. Like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So I got it. Actually, the link for that bit and these screws were in his plans for the Smart Cart. And it's an active link. If you pull the PDF plans up on your computer, and you can click right over to his affiliate stores and order it right from, I think it comes through Amazon. I don't think it comes from FastCap. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Steve still here. I was editing the video on the Smart Cart to go underneath the Smart Bench here, and I realized that I had lost a major amount of footage where I was actually making the sides of the Smart Cart right there. And it's this side. If you see Ron's plans, you'll see where he basically just removes material, keeps it low so you can put stuff in and out of the cart a little bit easier. But there's still enough material there to actually support the cart to make sure that there's no sag in the cart itself. So anyway, this piece right here. Now, one thing that I took the time to do, thinking ahead and trying to be a little bit more innovative, is something that actually Ron did not do that I saw, because he was making one cart, where I was making 3 carts, so I was thinking production line. So I laid out one of these sides, cut it with a track saw, dialed it right in, make sure it was perfect, in air quotes. And then I said, well, why not just take my router with a pattern bit and just use the first one as a pattern, realizing that the 5 that I have to make now, because I need 6 total, 2 per cart, 3 carts, because I'm doing production line, I'm making 3 benches, the Smart Bench, the Smart Station, and then I have one of the kits that Ron Paulk has advertised of his bench, the knockdown version. I have one of those, and if I'm going to build it, I want a cart for it. Then it made sense to me to lay this out once and then use my router and the pattern bushing and just use that and make the other 5, in which I did. Because I'm using 1 as the pattern, all of the other 5 are going to be slightly, I believe it's 1/16 of an inch bigger. However, that's not relevant in the scheme of what I am building with these carts. So 1 made the template for the other 5. I did not need to make a template and 6. 1 served as the template, made the other 5. I'll just kind of mock up a quick demonstration for you to show you what I did. So if this were my bench, I'm going to actually use sacrificial strips. I'm going to clamp everything down. Okay, so there's the idea of it clamped. And then the idea here is with the pattern bushing, the depth set, plunging down. Technically it'd be counterclockwise, so I'd be doing this, and I'd be able to then hit the angles running along the profile of the actual piece. Of course, these clamps would be in the way, and so I would have to move clamps when I got close to there. But in this way, production line, and I made 5 identical with the 1 that I started with, and it worked out just fine. Now that process will actually work very well if I could have made a template, made a 7th, but I was using fall off, and I'm not quite sure if I had enough fall off to make a 7th, if you will. But with that, the other 5 will actually be a 16th of an inch taller, unless you rip them through a table saw to width first, to the perfect width, and then use that process, square everything up, and simply just cuff off that angle and remove the other material in that kind of depressed area there. Basically, it's just to get things in and out of the cart a little bit easier, because you're going to use the cart as a big shelf. I think Ron and others I've seen, like Richard Renovations and Repairs, puts their vacuums down there, and that's why that hole is square in the center. That's been transferred actually up into the bench, because it's a larger hole to get like vacuum hoses up through. That simply is just one template, kind of does it all, if you will. But with that, you saw that I was also, of course, installing the base and the sides together, installed the sides to the base. And I'm using these fast cap screws that are various steps. I got this all off the plans, so I would encourage you to get the plans if you like that. You're just basically kind of flushing them up. You can take that drill bit and kind of adjust it and index it exactly so those screw heads are right at flush with the material. It's just, I'm just experimenting. You could have done this with drywall screws. It wouldn't have mattered. But I like the process, and I like to learn new things, and I had never used these screws before. I've installed cabinets 100 times, but I have never used these screws to install cabinets. I just use regular cabinet screws, and they're always, unless you countersink them, they're always proud. Here's a quick shot of that caster. I had a lot of video that I thought I shot. Apparently I did not hit record. But I was installing those casters one particular night, and I installed all 4 of them. So there's a quick shot of them. They're also, they did not use the cabinet screws. I believe they came with their own screws. Here I am doing kind of like add-ons. These are not in the plans. If you watch Ron's build video for his smart cart, that he actually shows you cutting and installing these. Basically, it's just to provide additional support so your sawhorses don't necessarily pop out or move, although I don't think they would anyway, but I'm doing the 100% build, so there you go. Also in this shot, you can see just to the extreme left, there is a vertical piece of plywood, very short, and there are 2 of them there. And what that is it's exactly spaced from the outside edge in. So when you take the carts down, you can actually put 2 carts on edge on the side in this cart, and then you would take your second smart cart for your second bench, flip them up. Flip it up on top, and basically you create that traveling cube that Ron talks about, to where the carts actually hold the benches vertically, if you will, right, side by side, with all the parts in the middle, just for transport. So very cool, and I wanted to do that because eventually I want to transport these. Here's a quick shot of me putting on that bar that makes it more convenient to flip up and down the legs, flip up and down the casters. So you can have it rolling, or you can have it stationary where it's sitting flat on the ground. Like right now, because I'm sitting at my bench, that I actually flipped up one of the sides so it's solid on the ground. Whoops. So it's solid on the ground. I can wiggle it, but it's not moving anywhere if I bump it. I did discover today that I am very shy of metal drilling bits. And so these holes were just painful to drill using regular drill bits, and I wore out a bunch of drill bits trying to get through this steel, and it's a fairly heavy gauge steel. In between then and now, I've actually been at it's one of the hardware stores and picked up a specific metal drilling bit kit. So next time I do my second and third cart, I should have no problem at all. So this, what it does is this will index the holes in the bar with the holes that I want to drill in the levers for each of those casters. Now, what Ron said, because he had the correct drill bits, is that he basically would, that's just, by the way, that's a Forstner bit. I'm just basically making a hole so I recess my bolts, so everything is flush. But beyond that, then, he used a series of metal drill bits going down through the wood and then into the metal, and then making the hole in the metal bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, the wood was doing that as well, but it was really for the metal. So everything stayed perfectly aligned. What I eventually did was I went ahead and marked with the drill bit where the holes would be, and then I just relieved the bar there, and you can see that I'm trying to drill through. Drilling through with the improper set of drill bits. Took a long, long time, but I got through. I went to the hardware store and picked up, I think, because you have 1.5 inches of plywood there, that's 2 pieces of plywood laminated together, glued, let set overnight. Actually, it sat for a couple of weeks because I didn't get to this. And then you have the, it's not a 1/4 inch of metal, but, you've got that cavity and everything else. So I think I went and probably got 1.5 inch bolts. I think I also got 2-inch bolts. I might have even picked up 1.25 inch bolts. I probably took some of that back because I used stainless steel hardware. The casters aren't stainless steel, and I don't expect this to be outside, but actually none of the other hardware, come to think of it, is stainless steel. So I probably just paid more money than I needed to. Okay, so everything's now assembled. Here is the cart there. And I'll be able to roll it right outside of my walkout basement. You can see my old bench sitting right there. It always sits out there these days. It's been there for probably a year. I've moved it around and I've used it on job sites, but otherwise. Oh, this actually predates me, so I got kind of videos backwards, because that doesn't have the bar or the casters. I think I was just testing the casters that day. Unless this is the day that I put the casters on. Man, to move this stuff around is beautiful. So here's the finished bench, and it's on the cart. And I can certainly tell you that I knew this would be a game changer, but once this is finally on the cart and I have the ability to move this thing around, it's hard to describe that feeling. I know it's going to work, and I know it's going to be ultra convenient to be able to finally move a bench 6 inches or 60 feet on a flat surface. But then to do it, that's a completely different thing. That goes from theory to application, and application is just amazing. That's an amazing feeling right in there. Silly, I know, but I have 5 years with a 100-pound bench, and to move that 6 inches, let alone 6 feet or greater, is non-trivial. So to do this is just absolutely, like I say, it's amazing. So, look at this. Man, I'm digging this. The bench itself, come on down here. The bench itself weighs, I want to say 64 or 65 pounds. The sawhorses, I think, are about 10 pounds each. And I don't know if I've weighed the cart or not. I don't know if I weighed the cart or not. You know, so it could be 30 pounds. And it moves like a dream, and even with stuff on it. I'm not kidding. That's a game changer just to be able to do that. Here's that. You can do the casters independently, but that foot lever, it's genius. Simple, but genius. I wouldn't have thought to have done that. And you know, Ron nailed it in that when you have your bench, it doesn't move around anywhere. It's perfectly indexed. So, right here, that's the spreader shelf. I don't need the spreader shelf. Now, I may want to use this bench without the cart because honestly, I set up in yards and things like that. The cart is not going to be very functional in that case. So if I want to set this up, I need the spreader shelf. So making it or not making it, that's not an option. I needed to make it. However, if I'm using the cart, I don't need it. So it can just function as a shelf at that point. Good stuff. So what's next? The next one is a smart station where you get your miter saw, build a cradle, hang the table saw off of this end, and then over here I will make the router tables. And then I have Ron's kit to make as well for the other carts. Here are all the parts. I have 2 bottoms already made. There are all of those angled sides that I already have down here, ends already cut because you have to double up the ends for the thickness. The only thing I actually need at this point is, besides making the benches, is I need to buy 2 more sets of casters. And when I buy 2 more sets of casters, then these can be completely made, outfitted, and ready to go. Thanks, folks, for sticking with me. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day because you deserve it. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe and ring that bell if you want to get notified when I drop another video. As builds go, this is a very quick build and it's well worth it. I highly recommend you go buy the plans. They are, I don't know, $20 or less, I think, $25 or less. And it's at Ron's smartwoodshop.com. Just check his store, find the plans. Y'all take care. Hopefully you'll see me on the next video. Bye.